You hear about a Proverbs 31 woman, but what about the other side? I've heard the term Ephesians 5 man be thrown around the internet sporadically, but I don't really know much about it. So, what does that mean? Right? Like what does that mean? That is probably the closest thing that we have, at least from women on the internet, Christian content creators on the internet, as to like the reverse of that. Obviously, you hear Proverbs 31 woman. I've made an episode well long ago talking about it. So now let's talk about what it means to actually be an Ephesians 5 man and what actually Ephesians 5 says about a man's relationship with a woman and how a man can be a good man, a good Christ-like man to his wife. Now, this is actually something I can comment on because obviously I'm a man myself. Like I'm not trying to be controversial, and this is not really anything that is going to be controversial. It's just me quoting from Ephesians chapter 5. I've written it down here. Some quotes. I'm going to be paraphrasing and explaining it in the way that I know how. But I'm going to be talking about what it actually says in Ephesians 5 with regards to relationships and how the man should treat the woman. But of course, to be a Proverbs 31 woman, you hear about it all the time. And if you follow God, if you're in the Christian sphere, like you've probably been conditioned to want a Proverbs 31 woman, of course. But I'm not here to talk about how you can become a Proverbs 31 woman if you are a woman, because that's not my genre. That's not where I have any real say, of course, because I am a man, of course. So I ought to talk about the things that pertain to men. Men, how you can get a Proverbs 31 woman, that I made an episode about already. So you can go watch that one once you're done watching this one. But this is how you can be an Ephesians 5 man. Again, it's a term that's not really used that much, but it's probably the closest thing we have to something like a Proverbs 31 woman. So how you can be an Ephesians 5 man to the woman of your future. Might not even be someone you're with right now, right? Just as often with a Proverbs 31 woman, it's not for the people you're with right now. Because of course, like you might not be in a relationship right now, but you still have to become the man worthy of the wife that you want in the future. That's of course your duty as a man, to grow in stature in that way and grow in faith in that way. So let's talk about it. So the first thing is, I actually want to point out something that was said in the beginning of the chapter. It has nothing to do with the actual the guidelines for men, how they should treat their wives. It's just kind of like a general guideline for how you ought to behave, written by Paul. But of course, I'm going to be paraphrasing these verses and then explaining it. So in the very beginning of the chapter, it's let not fornication, uncleanness, covetousness, filthiness, foolish talking, or jesting be even named among you. So, or even be done. Again, verses 3 and 4 from chapter 5 of Ephesians. It's just me paraphrasing. It's not the exact thing, but it's very interesting because it's general guidelines. It's interesting that fornication is the word that's used. And it's an interesting word because fornication, by definition, is just having sex for the pleasure of it. So you don't actually care about the woman at all, and it's not anything actually fruitful. It is just you're doing it just for the pleasure of it. And it's very, very widely criticized, especially in the Paul letters, because it's not fruitful and it's not what it means to be in a healthy relationship, of course. But we live in modern society where it's so publicized and it's so normalized, where we've kind of moved away from that. We've moved away from the beauty of a relationship. So I just wanted to touch upon that, where it's like, of course, uncleanness, covetousness. Covetousness, you're coveting the body of a woman. That's also a very lustful mindset that's not going to be fruitful in a relationship. Foolish talking or jesting. Jesting is essentially like you think about a jester, right? The court jester. You're not actually doing anything meaningful. You're just being stupid, really, right? You're being stupid. Foolish talking, similar type of thing. You're just being stupid. You're kind of being unwise in your ways, in what you say and what you do. And that relates to how you treat a woman. That relates to how you treat your future wife. You shouldn't even have it be named among you. You shouldn't do it at all, or even have it even be thought among yourselves. Because those, like, and he goes on to say after that none of the people that partake in these things have a place in the kingdom of heaven, which those are harsh words. Like, that's the very next verse. Very harsh words that he says here. Of course, you're saved through Jesus Christ, but there are guidelines, and there are things that, well, this actually does contribute to a relationship. If you're a man who is guilty of falling into types of behaviors, it's only going to be seen when you're actually with a relationship. And especially if you find a good woman to be with, like, you might actually just throw that away because of your own conduct, which has nothing to do with how you treat her. Your own conduct and your own behavior might actually push her away from you. So this is just something I wanted to personally touch upon. That's like, this is kind of the conduct of behavior, and these types of things affect your relationship, affect kind of how you actually treat your woman. If you're treating her, you're coveting, you're lusting after her, or you're focused too much on the pleasure of it, which is the fornication, or if you're just not wise in who you are as a man, you're not strong enough as a man, which is your filthiness, which is your foolish talking, your uncleanness, your jesting that is talked about, that pushes a woman away. That pushes the woman that you want. Of course, if you're a Christian man, you're watching this, if you're a man of God, the type of woman that you do want in your life, you will push those types of women away, and you will attract the women that also are those types of things. You will attract the more promiscuous women into your life just kind of naturally. So you do have to be careful. First and foremost, when you want a fruitful relationship, it starts with you. It starts with you as a man to truly be better, right? To be better as a man and not partake in these things that are really destructive to relationships. And then if and when you do find that girl that you want, and that girl you've been waiting for, that God's been planning to let you have, to put in your life, you need to be ready to keep her. You need to be ready to be formidable enough as a man of God to keep her. Otherwise, unfortunately, we live in a world where people cheat all the time. Loyalty is a very, very rare quality that isn't really there. And if you don't merit that, if you don't have that level of competence yourself, unfortunately, you will very, very quickly, it will slip away, right? She will slip away from you if you do end up getting in that situation. So it starts with you as a man, right? It starts with you as how you can follow the words of God and the works of God to be a formidable man. And these are kind of some basic ideas as to what you can actually follow. Now we can get into the actual very specific guidelines for how you're supposed to treat your wife, right? So you get into some specifics now, more near the end of the chapter. Love your wives as Christ loved the church. That is the biggest thing. You have to be willing to die for your wife. You're willing to give up your life for her because the same way that Christ gave up his life for the church. This is in verse 25. And the church is not, just to be completely clear, the church is not the building, right? It's not that you go to the building and you worship. No, because that's kind of been all politicized and it's kind of been all corrupted. Of course, we know this. The church that we're talking about here is the congregation of the believers in Christ. So you and I, we're part of the church of Christ. It has nothing to do with the building. It is just you believe in Christ, you're a part of his church. Because, of course, he saves the sins of the world, right? He gave up his life for all of us. For all that believe on him, we may be saved through Jesus Christ. So, of course, by that fact, we are his church. So he gave his life up for the church. Similarly, as a man, you want to love your wife so much, and that's what God calls us to do. You ought to love your wife so much that you would give up your life for her. And that is the level of love that you have to have for her. And that is the ultimate level of love. That is the greatest level of love that you can have ever. The love that God has for all of us, you should also have for your wife. And I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense as a man. Especially if it is a wife that is worthy of that love, right? It's like if you know that you're with a woman and she is that woman. She is that Proverbs 31 woman. She is that high quality woman. She might not even be like a woman of God, but you know that she has many qualities that make a woman very, very high quality and very like good to be with, good to marry, like a wife material, right? Wifey material, right? Like, you know you're with that type of a woman. Well, then that's even more reason for you to love her, like Christ loved the church. Even more reason for you to give up your life for her, and you have to make her a priority in your life. Of course, in any relationship, when you're by yourself, when you're single, it's all about you, right? Once you get into a relationship, she becomes your priority. And you need to be man enough to know that you want to care for her, right? You want to care for her more than you care for yourself, really. So the point of this teaching is that the love has to be on that level. And that is the ultimate form of love, that you would give up your life for her when it comes down to it, right? If she's in danger and and someone's trying to rob her, you will put yourself in the front lines and defend her. You want to love your woman that much that you will put your life at risk for her. That is the teaching. That is the connection and the relationship that you should have with a woman as a man of God, and that is the level of love you should have for her. And of course, love your wife as you love yourself, which is verse 28. That Jesus says, love others as you love yourself, just as a general teaching. So of course, you ought to love your wife as you love yourself as well. Absolutely, right? You ought not to hate her. You ought not to. You want to give her grace, right? You give yourself grace. It's like if you wouldn't do that thing to yourself, if you wouldn't want others to do that to you, you shouldn't do the thing to your wife. You shouldn't say that thing to her either. It's pretty standard, of course, because that's the teaching that Jesus says for all people, that you should treat everyone like yourself. But for your wife, it's even more important, because you're spending so much time with her and you're being with her throughout your days, that it is even more important. She has to be another part of you, another branch of you, and it's an absolutely beautiful thing. So you ought to treat her like you treat yourself. You shouldn't treat her any different. And of course, love her like Christ loved the church. And then verses 29 to 30, nourish and cherish her as a member of your own body. So again, you're paraphrasing, but yes, nourish and cherish are words that are used in those verses. So you want to grow with her. You want to care for her. You want to teach her, right? You want to teach her things. You want to help her. You want to guide her. You want to be the leader and guide her and help her to develop in her relationship with God and grow together in a relationship and truly show that you care for her and provide for her. As the man and as a man of God, that is also your duty as well, to grow with her, to be with her, present with her through it all. If she goes through a tough situation, you want to be the shoulder that she can lean on, where she can feel safe and she can feel like she is loved and she can feel like she is being nourished and cherished and cared for and loved. That's a part of that teaching as well. When you say the word nourish and you cherish, that means to grow with her and to teach her many amazing things of the kingdom, right? To teach her, you teach each other, right? It has nothing to do with maybe the woke ideology that like being a traditional relationship is not a good thing. No, you're teaching each other. But as a man, especially if it's a woman of God, teach her things of the Lord and teach her things of the kingdom, so that you both can grow together and you both can care for each other, but you care for her and you can be with her. From the man's side, that is your duty, to care for her, help her grow in her relationship with God, and help her grow with you as well as you grow in life, and as you're dealing with life's hardships and difficulties and circumstances. Help her grow and help her have someone to lean on, that she may feel loved. So that's what Ephesians 5 says about being a man of God and being a man that can be a husband to a wife, and what being a godly husband means as a man. It's not as specific and it's not as in-depth as Proverbs 31 is, but there's absolutely some very, very important and interesting things that are talked about and that are touched upon when it comes to the relationship between man and woman, right? And one more final disclaimer I want to say: when you're trying to walk the walk of Christ and walk that path and try to be a good man and a good husband for your future wife, and you're trying to grow as a man, you're trying to grow in strength to truly be formidable, that you can be a man worthy of finding one of those wives which are out there. As you're kind of growing in that way, you need to understand that you shouldn't be picky. That's the thing. And I think that's the one thing in relationships that I have to work on too. You shouldn't be picky, because sometimes you will find a woman who acts like Christ, who is a great woman, she's loyal, but she doesn't actually believe in it. And you might let that dissuade you from being with her. But it's some very interesting things that Paul says in Corinthians. If the man is a man of God and the woman is not, don't forbid them from getting married, because the teaching can still be passed on to the children. And that's also a very interesting perspective. He says that in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, he also talks about some guidelines for relationships as well. Those ones are more, I feel like those ones are more down to interpretation. For me, I agree with some of it. I don't agree with some of it. But the main core thing is this: like, you don't want to lose a woman that's a very high quality woman just because she doesn't believe in God. That's an important thing that I want to stress. That's how you nourish. That's the nourish and cherishing part of Ephesians 5. that you want to help her grow in that regard. You want to be the man of God so that she can grow in that aspect. So don't just shut off a relationship, or don't just shut off any potential thing because she's not a woman of God, because she's not there yet in her belief. Like, show a little bit of grace, right? If you see that she has great qualities of a great woman that can be a wife material, don't just push her away because she doesn't believe in God and she doesn't believe in the exact same things you do. A lot of people, unfortunately, are guilty of that. And wives, kind of the same thing. Like, if the man is not there yet, I think, like, you shouldn't be pushing them away as well. But as a man, and I can only really speak on the man's side, the husband's side, don't kind of just be so quick to cut things off just because you don't agree on certain things. Ride it out at least for a good amount of time so that you can realize, okay, if she's actually not the one, like if she's actually just nowhere near where you were looking for, then that's fine. But I'd say give it some time. Don't just go on one date or go be with her for a few weeks or have one deep spiritual conversation and realize that you miss the line on so many things. Give it some time. And if she's not the one, she's not the one. But if you see that there are many great qualities in her that you can also nourish and bring out the best of her, then you should maybe give it more of a chance, right? Unfortunately, a lot of people, they're too picky. And I think I'm guilty of it as well in my life as well. Like, so don't be so picky. Sometimes it won't be perfect. You won't actually enter the relationship absolutely perfectly adept at the teachings and 100% a follower of Christ. We all sin. We all are imperfect. We all fall short. Very rarely you're going to find someone that's ready and already molded into like the perfect woman for you. And very rarely are you going to be molded into the perfect man already for a woman. So it goes both ways. But that's kind of my final touch upon it. But it's like Ephesians 5 has a couple of very important things when it comes to how you should treat a woman as a husband, how you should treat your wife as a husband. But that's like one last thing that I want to touch upon when it comes to this. So if you want to be an Ephesians 5 man, it starts with you. It starts with growing in strength in your life before you actually enter into a relationship. And when you get into a relationship, you have to treat your wife in the same way Christ treats the church, right? That you have to be willing to lay down your life for her. And that is the duty of man, I think, just fundamentally. Not just from the Christian perspective. It is the duty of man, just period. But you need to know that yes, you ought not to be so picky when trying to find that perfect wife. It's not always going to be perfect, right? So you also have to kind of keep that at the back of your mind as well. So I do invite you as a man, if you're out there, to continue to strive, continue to grow in strength and in your belief in God, to truly become that Ephesians 5 man, or to just truly become a man of God in general. You don't have to have that framework, but I did want to talk about it because it is something interesting, because it is something that kind of puts this whole idea of being a man of God, of being a faithful husband, into a little bit more of a framework and a little bit more of you can find it in one part of the Bible and you can review it and you can apply it to your life rather than just having it be sporadically out there, right? 1 Corinthians chapter 7 is also some very important guidance and advice on marriage, for sure. Ephesians chapter 5, of course, has that stuff as well. And of course, there are many other individual places you can find it. Rather than just kind of you're having to look through the Bible and you look through the Holy Word and you don't really know where to go, Ephesians 5 is a good place for you to go, for you to kind of strengthen yourself and read the Holy Word. I recommend you go and read that chapter and read what it actually has to say word for word, because I've just been paraphrasing here. Read what it actually has to say word for word and try your best to apply it to your life. And it will make your relationships with the women around you just way better, way more fruitful, and way more God-centered and God's focused. And with God in your life, truly, absolutely anything is made possible, and the fruits will only continue to grow in your relationship. So, men that are out there, if you're still watching this, I really do hope that you find that wife that you're looking for one day, and I hope that you can grow in strength, that you may be the man worthy to nurture and be with that wife one day in your lives as well. It's a daily process. It's a daily thing that you got to deal with every day, but I hope that this episode gives you some insights and some interesting things to think about when it comes to how you're growing in terms of your strength as a man every day in this life. That's all I got to say for today. So if you enjoyed it, I hope you enjoyed it. I really do hope that you take something from this and that you continue to grow in strength and grow in your relationship with Christ every day in your life. Thank you for watching this episode. As always, show your support on the show in any way you can by leaving a like, by subscribing, following on Spotify if you haven't done that yet. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you're going to be doing going forward to try and be an Ephesians 5 man. to try and grow in your strength in God. And if you have any questions, yes, don't hesitate to comment and let me know. I'll respond to all comments. That's all I got to say for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and I hope that this will help you grow your relationship with God in some way and in some aspect in your life. So, being an Ephesians 5 man, it's definitely something important. And it is definitely a framework that can help you grow stronger every day. So continue to glorify God every day throughout your life, and that's it for me. As always, I'll see you tomorrow for the next episode of the 365 podcast.